Okay. Everybody's muted, and it's recording. We're just going to go on like everything's all right. Today, I want to talk about the consciousness of omnipresence. We're in a world where illusion just seems to be running rampant right now. Everywhere you look, you see fear all over the place. And then what happens next is you're thinking. That's why I said last week, you will not stop thinking. I don't care what you do. So the thing that you're supposed to do is pay attention to how you are thinking or what you are thinking. That's why Paul said, think on these things. So you know that if you go out into the stores, you go out to to get gas, you go out. I mean, here you got the world and people telling you, don't congregate anywhere where there's 50 or more people. You cannot be in groups of 50. You have to be, So I guess you could get. It's all right if you're at 49, but not 50. And so then, what are you going to do? You're going to start thinking how fearful they are, how caught up in their own drama that they are. Now what's happening is you are becoming a part of what they are experiencing by way of thinking about what they are doing. I do my best not to even give any thought to what they're doing. I'm moving on down the road knowing that either God is all or God is not all. It can't be both. It can only be one. And if God is all, I'm not thinking about what people are thinking. I'm not thinking about whether somebody is afraid or not. It's just come to me that if I do that, I become a part of that. Because if my consciousness is aware that there is only God, omnipresence, then that's the way I need to be thinking. And no matter who I meet, I should be meeting God coming and going. I should be meeting God coming and going. There should not be a time where I'm concerning myself with the way somebody thinks or what they're saying. Yesterday, I went to the studio, and I took Cynthia with me. Now, I want to walk you through what my experience has been since Sunday. I had a friend who said, I'll come over and stay with your wife while you go over to the studio, and I can do it on Wednesday. I don't want to do it right now. I can't come out right now. I'm laying down because I have a head cold. I said, okay, well, I'll just do treatment on your behalf. I don't worry about it. So that was Sunday. She said, Wednesday I'll be able to do it. I said, okay. So I said, do you need anything? No, I don't need anything. You don't have to concern. I've got enough food. I got everything from the store that I would need, so I'm good. So I said, okay. Monday came, and then Tuesday came. I took Cynthia over to the studio. We went over on Monday, and I came back. On Tuesday, we didn't go. And then on Wednesday, I get a call from the lady who was going to help me. And she said, I'm just not comfortable with this, so I'm going to bail out on you. Now, this is like about an hour before I got to be at the studio. I'm like, okay, don't worry about it. It's good. I can make it. Don't even worry about it. I got this. So I take Cynthia with me again. We go over to the studio. Get done what we need to get done. I come back. I get home. And my mind is on everything that I've been through. My mind is on people, how they think, what they think. I'm coming into the neighborhood, and I said, oh, wow, Cynthia has an uncle. They live about a stone's throw from where we live. And so I said, I'm going to go by. He's been on my mind for 2 days, so I'm going to go by and see how he's doing because he's on oxygen. He's been on it for years now. But he just popped on my mind and it was on it. So I said, I'm going to go by and see how he's doing. So Cynthia, I take her with me. We go into the neighborhood, knock on the door, and his wife, that's really Cynthia's aunt by bloodline. His wife comes to the door, lets us in, goes on, and we come in, and he was sitting there, and she was like, "Yeah, y'all sit down. Y'all sit down." And then she was like, "I don't hug nobody. I don't hug nobody right now. I ain't hugging nobody." Cynthia, so how you doing? And so this is a lady that when her daughter was real ill before she passed, and I would go down to this nursing home, and I would feed her daughter 3 days a week. And so then when because her daughter and Cynthia were very close, I would feed her 3 days a week. And then that was at lunchtime. So then because she was, the lady, the mother was working, and her brothers had were working, and they, and Cynthia's uncle, again, with that oxygen and all, he was having a hard time doing it, so I would do it. Well, we go in yesterday, and we're sitting there, we talked for a few minutes, and she's going on and on and on and on about the coronavirus and this and that, and she just, all of this. And then I said, well, Skip, I came to see you because you've been on my mind. And he smiled. He looked up at me, he smiled. And I said, you just got on my mind. I said, I just thought I'd come by and see how you were doing. Well, he said, yeah, I usually look out for you when you jogging. And he said, but I look up, and before I can get to the door to stop you, to say something, you're gone. And I said, yeah. I said, but I don't see you. And so, he's in his 80s. I said, well, I'm just going to go. I want to go in there today. And we talked, we chat for a few minutes. I stayed about 15 to 20 minutes. So then I just said, well, I said, we're going to go. I got to get Cynthia home. I got to get dinner together. I said, it's not going to be too much to get dinner together today because I had already had most of it prepared anyway. So we get ready to go, and the wife, who is Cynthia's blood aunt, I said it twice, the wife doesn't even get up to walk to the door with us, but the husband gets up, grabs that big old tank and long cords that he's got, and walks over to the door with us, shakes my hand. We go on out the door. He stands there at the door and waits for me to drive off and waves, and she says nothing. So I get back home, and I'm thinking about it, and the more I'm thinking about it, I'm starting to get angry. And then I said, but how is that going to help? What are you thinking about right now? You just got through reading in that book, God, there is nothing but God, in the back of the book where she's talking about identity. And I said, yeah, you know what? Man is God thinking. So man's body is the manifestation of soul, which I am. So I and my Father are one has to mean mind and its thinking are one, and the thought is automatically manifested. So God thinking, man manifests an outpictured form, which he calls image and likeness, and that form has within it the spirit and power of all that God consciousness is, and has dominion over all of the earth, and has all authority, and is not ruled by anything. And as long as man is aware of what God told him, in other words, man is a thought. Man is an idea. Man is something that God, which is consciousness, which I am one with, then man does what I tell him to do. Whether it's individual, Michael, or man, or whether it's men, women all over the whole world. There's just a consciousness of omnipresence. And if I am aware of the consciousness of omnipresence, I don't have any energy to throw into thinking about being angry about what somebody is appearing to do. Now that's powerful because that's your freedom. It appears to me that freedom is totally in the area of identity. You shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. Well, I am the truth, and if I am the truth, I am free, and I am free of thinking about what man appears to be doing, which is out of sync or out of line with what God is. Man can't do anything other than what God says do. Now, it might look like man is not doing what God says do, but if I'm aware from an absolute perspective that God is all, that God is absolute, that God is appearing as man, then God is doing what God is supposed to do. What God has done is done forever. And so I and my Father are one. Nothing can separate that. You can't separate yourself from God. Well, it might look like you are, but the truth is, it just is. If I take one solid color and I start adding to it, like let's say I got blue and I start adding yellow in it and it starts turning green. Well, it's not green. It's just got yellow in it, but the blue is still there. That's the part that frees you. The sun ray coming off of the sun, it can't change. It can't not be. It's the sun. The ray off the sun is the sun. Man coming off of the soul, coming off of God, the conscious oneness of all, is God. And God can't change. I am the Lord, and I change not. So knowing that my identity is the answer to everything, why am I out here looking for answers? Why am I looking for a cure to something that is not God? Why am I paying attention to what I see? Why am I making judgments about something that appears? When my daughter called me and told me that two men had got to fighting in a Walmart over a pack of toilet paper, when I saw a friend post on Facebook, toilet paper, one roll was $5, and my mind goes, well, what do you think about that? And then the other thought says, you best think nothing about it. Because God is God. No matter what it looks like the world is doing, God is God. And the earth is the Lord and the fullness thereof, the world and they that dwell therein. God is not winning. God has won. God is not winning. God is not accomplishing anything. God has already accomplished. Everything about God, when I started looking at it from the past tense, I was like, wow. That means the past is now. That which is to be is already been. And that which is being is right now. And I realized, well, my God, this is just all there is. There is nothing else. I don't care what it looks like. I don't care how it appears to look crooked or stupid or not looking like what God said. Let the earth bring forth. Let man looks like he's poor. She looks like she doesn't have any money, any food. It looks like, and that can't be the truth. Jesus proved that on the mountain. There's thousands of people, and Jesus says, break the food and give it to them. What food? The consciousness of omnipresence. What I need is always at my disposal because I can't have a need. That's why Paul says, my God shall supply all your needs. it appears you have a need, but you can't have a need if you have the consciousness of omnipresence. Everything is always right where it's supposed to be. It can't move. My God fills all space. It can't move. No weapon formed against you can prosper. Why? Because you have already prospered. There's nothing to accomplish. I was sitting and thinking about think about the commercials that are on TV, all these people begging, can you give us some money, $19 a month, 63 cents a day, this, and that. Not one time do you look and see somebody say, let's develop the consciousness of omnipresence. Let's just have omnipresence as some of the commercials on TV. Nobody's paying for that. It's like, well, what do you think about that? I don't. I see it, I observe it, and I go on. I do the best I can not to think about what if these people were to develop the consciousness of omnipresence. There's no need in thinking that. But there is some sense in thinking, well, that's God. There's God on TV again, selling cars. There's God on TV again, saying that he needs X dollars to keep moving. There's God on TV again. Because I'm telling you, it can be annoying and irritating to sit and watch television and see all of the drama, the killing, the lying. That's the first thing that stands out. Is people will tell a lie without even blinking an eye. And you look around in the world and you say, yeah, that's just the way it is. And then you think to yourself, no, that's not the way it is. That's the way it appears. It looks like the sky is sitting down on the trees if you look off in the distance. It looks just like the sky is all the way down on the trees. But that's not true. So it looks like people are sick. It looks like people are dying every day. But that's not the truth. There's just an expansion in consciousness. It's just you move into the light. If Jesus is an example of what happens through what is called death, then there's nothing to be afraid of because he died on a cross. You saw a body of a man appear to die on the cross, yet that man is up 3 days later and walking around. So there's nothing to be afraid of. So as you go through the valley of the shadow of death, and you know that that's where you are all day, every day, thou art with me. Why? Because I am one with thou. There's nothing to be afraid of. Thou art with me. I'm one with thou. This morning, when I was getting ready to get up, and I wanted to read some from the book, Vivian May Williams' book, There's Nothing But God, but unfortunately, I left it over at the studio by mistake. But there was a tug on me to just pick up a book I haven't looked at in, I don't know how long, and it is really, really old. It's called Living Between Two Worlds by Joel Goldsmith. And when I started reading, I said, no wonder this thing is all on me to pick up this book, The Consciousness of Omnipresence, Chapter 7, Living Between Two Worlds. And I just want you to hear some of the words in it, and I'll let you know Joel Goldsmith's words, and you'll know mine. He starts out, when we come to a certain place in our spiritual development, we wonder how there could be such a God as has been worshipped in the last 4,000 years, whether the Hebrew God, the Christian God, or the Buddhist God. Through prayers to that God, wars have not been wiped out, nor has peace been brought to earth. Furthermore, whatever of longevity has been demonstrated in this last half century has come by way of the increased knowledge materia medica has attained. through research resulting in a better understanding of nutrition and sanitation. Now that's pretty bad from the standpoint of the world has advanced only on that particular level, nutrition, a better understanding of sanitation. What do you see them doing now? Hand sanitizer all over the place. People selling thousands of bottles of hand sanitizer. All the bread going off the shelves in the stores. All the water gone out of the stores. Hand sanitizer. Don't touch your face. Well, good luck with that. And I'm sitting there going, the world, they'll rush to that. You see them rushing to that, and your job is to do your best not to make any judgment thought about it. Just observe it. Just look at it and realize my consciousness does not include that. He goes on to say, today many ministers are willing to admit that a new concept of God must be presented to the people because what has heretofore been presented has not been God, but merely an image, and a false one at that. It is not easy to come to a place in consciousness where we are willing to acknowledge this and then ask ourselves, what is God? The question is, what is God? Not who, because to think of God as who would be to substitute one false image for another. One false image for another. What are the false images of God? Don't think about it. What are the false images of God? Big old man up in the sky. Let's see. God is, to some people, God is a statue, but very judgmental, performance-oriented. In other words, you must perform, and then God says, "Okay, you did good. You come on there. Oh, you didn't do good. So you gnashing of teeth. You're going to be in the lake of fire." God is not love. But then for a lot of people say God is love, but they don't have any understanding of what love is. The lady I'm telling you about, that where we went yesterday, and I took Cynthia, she's one of the readers in the Catholic Church and stands there and reads stuff like God is love and this and that and the other. But what is her image of God? What is her thought about God? Most people have a personal God. If they believe in God, they have a personal God. This is the God that takes care of me and mine. That's the God that they serve, who takes care of me and mine. And when that God does not take care of me and mine, then it wasn't God's will, and it's time for me to lose my home or lose my car or can't pay the bills or file bankruptcy. This is what God wanted me to do. I mean, all of these different images of God, yet here's God saying, I will perform that which is appointed unto you. I will perfect that which concerns you. What is appointed unto you? Once to die. And then what? The resurrection. And then salvation. Once to die. But to die to what? To these negative images of God. To die, once appointed once to die. To die to the illusion, to the error, to the fact that God is two-sided, double-mindedness. James says, let this man realize he will never receive anything from the Lord if he's double-minded. God is good and evil. God is going to punish such and such a person because he did X, Y, and Z. These are the images that we must die to. It is appointed unto us once to die. And guess what? Resurrection comes out of that death. Once to die. Paul said, die daily. That's included in the once. You're always dying to something that does not seem to be the truth. Because there is nothing but the truth. But stuff appears to be untrue. So I die to my thinking. I die to the thinking about that is not righteous judgment. But I have sense enough to know that as I stand, knowing my identity, knowing that I am the truth, that God appears as my body, which I am appearing as my body, and that body is what's called man or manifestation. That's all I need to know. God is closer than breathing, nearer than hands and feet. Cease ye from man whose breath is in his nostrils. That's not who we are. I was telling my grandson last week, think about a flagpole that's anchored. And it's anchored. Let's just think about this flagpole is going to be anchored in concrete and bolted down, and it's never going to fall down. Never going to do anything. Through the wind, through the waves, I don't care, whatever. It's going to stand there forever. And then there's a flag hanging on it. People have a tendency to think that they are the flag. But they're not. The flag is what they use. Man is the flag. But the consciousness of the power of God is the pole. And when the wind blows hard, the flag just stretches right out. You can see that flag just standing in the wind. And what happens? When the wind is not blowing hard, the flag droops down. Now think about the fact that when man is listening and in touch with the divine, which is within him, he just stands right out. She just can just go down the road confident, not arrogant, confident, with conviction, with faith, with truth, knowing, just like that flag standing out there in the wind, because the wind of inspiration, the consciousness of the presence of God, all present, is causing man to be confident, to move forward and do whatever they're thinking. But when man is not listening and not paying attention to the truth, thinking something that is totally away from what God is, then man droops. There's always a problem. There's the error. There's always trying to work out some difficulty. So that word is again, well, I got to figure that out. Well, you're not. It's already figured out. Man knows that within him is I am, and that's all he has to do is listen to that, pay attention to it. Moses paid attention to the I am that I am. In Aramaic, it's translated, I am the living God. Can you imagine Moses walking around thinking, I am the living God? Can you imagine yourself walking around thinking, I am the living God? Then you know that imagination is not God, but God imagines. That's the only part where I differ with Neville. Neville says imagination, the human imagination is God. No. God is imagining. God is thinking. We know that because Isaiah says, your thoughts are not my thoughts, and your ways are not my ways. But just as the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my thoughts higher than your thoughts. So the best thing to do is, amen, listen at the thoughts. And you can determine which ones are effective, or a better word is appropriate. You know, a man walking around thinking, I am supply. Supply is omnipresent. I am health. Well, you can't be healthy without a consciousness of health. But if you have a consciousness of health, you will find yourself not getting sick. You have to have a consciousness of supply. You have to. Or you find yourself with a lot of money, but then the next thing you know, you made some mistakes somewhere, and then what happens? It starts dwindling away. But once you have the consciousness of omnipresence, you will always have what it is that you consider to be omnipresent. So if you consider yourself, your identity is God, and all there is God, and you have the consciousness of yourself as God, if that's your consciousness, you will walk and talk and act like God. And you will be beyond all of the errors, and you would just look at the world and see it for what it is and not make any judgments about it. Because you would constantly know the earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof, the world and they that dwell therein. Just a little more of Brother Goldsmith. Think for a moment of omnipresence, a presence filling all space, a presence right where we are. Whether we make our bed in heaven or in hell, or whether we walk through the valley of the shadow of death, what is that presence that is omnipresence and at the same time all power and all? What is it? What is this presence that is always with us, whose pleasure it is to give us the kingdom? Now remember, we know the word kingdom means counsel, word. This presence that knows our needs even before we do, that which goes before us to make our way straight, that which prepares mansions for us. What is it? That's what I am. And as once this consciousness of omnipresence comes on you, it's a lot that you were afraid of won't be anymore. It just drops off by the wayside. It can't help it. It wasn't real to begin with. It'll still appear. There's no way that you're going to be in this world and not see the appearances of error. It's just impossible. But it is possible to have a conscious awareness of the presence of God in any situation that you find yourself in. I don't care what it is. The consciousness of the presence of God is right there. That's what he means by it. You make your bed in hell or in hell. I don't care where it is. The consciousness of the presence of God is always there. Joel goes on, as we turn these questions over and over in our mind without fear that there is any God that is going to punish us or for such questioning, as we divest ourselves of faith in that which has never warranted our faith, we find that presence has not done all those things for us because we have not understood what it is and how it functions. That's powerful. When we go back and tell the truth and say all that God said that he was going to do for me, all these promises that he made for me, I have not experienced all of these promises. What's wrong? Why haven't I experienced it? Because I don't understand what it is and how it functions. But the more I do this next step, we must empty out the vessel filled with all these false beliefs and faiths and images in order that we may be filled with truth. It is true that in all ages there have been some few who have attained the wisdom, the understanding, and the actual demonstration of omnipresence. But has the world shown forth any evidence of a divine presence as infinite power of good? We all know no. But as we empty out, we start seeing God everywhere. And when we start seeing God everywhere, we start seeing these erroneous, dramatic problems, issues, situations, conditions start to fade out of our experience. You start looking at something that is threatening as nothing. And it's not anything that you do. It's like something just puts a. It's like you were laying down and asleep, and somebody came over and just put a cover on you. It's like, what does the song say? I once was blind, but now I see. Amazing grace. It's by the grace of God that this consciousness just takes over. Why? Because you have been emptying out every time you meditate. Every time you start thinking about God and what God is and God appearing as all, everywhere, all the time, the more you keep thinking like that, the more the grace of God starts to empty out all of your false beliefs about what God is. The ego does not want to get rid of all of its false beliefs about God. The ego does not want to give up and say there's a grace that's that's taking care of me, that I'm taking care of, and then I can look out, and I don't care who it is who has these problems. I can realize they don't have any problem. How can God have a problem? Now, just trying to think like that is not the answer, because there'll always be something on the inside of you saying, are you sure? There'll always be something that's wiping that out. But when the grace of God lands, as your consciousness, and you realize, wow, man, I am thinking as I thought that to be. I am thinking like God thinks. I am realizing the truth. It's just like looking outside on the most dismal, dark, gray-looking day that there is, knowing the sun is still out because of based on what time it is. You know the sun is out. You can't see it, but it's out. And you know very well, you don't even have to have faith to know that the sun is out. It's there. It's going to always be out. There's no way for it not to be out. What God has done is done forever. That stuff becomes absolute. He perfects that which concerns me. Well, what's concerning me? This virus, how many people are afraid of it, the sickness that's going around, all of these things that are just happening all over the world, ISIS. I saw a list of all of the things that were going in the world, all of the sicknesses, Ebola, some kind of virus. When we were growing up, it was what? Typhoid fever. It was, let's see, what else was back in those days? Oh, yeah, the flu has always been there. Sometimes it was in the Asian flu, the bird flu, you name it, all of these things. Yet God was right there. And the people who are aware of God being right there are walking on the waters of absolute thought, of absolute peace. Is thought power? No. What is thought? Thought is a channel. Thought is a channel. Thought is man's way of being aware that God is his being. God is herself. That's man's way. Is there gender? Yeah. In mankind, there's gender. There's male and female. But those are God's thoughts. And I am the self, the being that I have the right to think like God. Is God going to punish me for thinking like God? No, because God doesn't understand punishment. Doesn't even know what it is. Who created that? Man. Man ate from a tree. God didn't. Did God eat from a tree of knowledge of good and evil? No. Man ate from a tree. There is no fall from grace. It looks like there is, but God is right there. I heard somebody say, well, while the woman was eating from the tree, the man said it was her fault, but he was standing right there when God told him not to eat from the tree. And it's like, that's just a story that somebody's telling you. That's a story that somebody's telling you. God didn't eat from the tree. It appears that a man ate from the tree, and it appears that the man is still eating from the tree, but God is right there. And guess what? You got to die to eating from the tree. You got to die from making judgments. We got to die from that wants to die. We've got to die from all of this foolishness and realize God is right where I am. And no matter what I'm getting ready to do, God is there. Yesterday, before I went jogging, I was sitting there. I was paying all of these bills that were due yesterday, and I paid the bills, and some of them were large. And when I got finished, I realized, I said, wow, man, why do I feel good that I paid these bills? And it hit me. That's because you have the consciousness of supply. The consciousness of supply is what you need. My God will supply all your needs according to his riches and glory by Christ Jesus. Well, what's your need? The consciousness of something, supply of health and wholeness, the consciousness of wisdom, the consciousness of knowledge, the consciousness of faith. Everything consciousness of everything is what there is. And that's all there is. I give thanks now in the name of Jesus Christ, our Father, which art in heaven, who is everywhere. Hallowed be thy name. Distinct for a purpose which has already been fulfilled as man. When God set out and had man in his image and in his likeness, God imagined man's purpose, and imagined it done. There was nothing else. There couldn't be anything else. Man is fulfilled already. Thy counsel, thy kingdom come. Why? What? Yeah, man needs to keep listening at the word. God is broadcasting the word to show man constantly that man is fulfilled, male and female. God's wish is done. His desire for man is done. What God does is done forever, in earth as it is in heaven. The daily bread, that's a consciousness of sustenance, a consciousness of supply, a consciousness of all is well, everything is okay. Man must forgive another man. How does he do it? By not thinking about what that man thinks or how that man is appearing to think, but always realizing if I've offended that man, then I'm asking that I be set free from the offense. That does away with karma. And let me not enter into the temptation to say, see, I knew this was going to happen. Let me not enter into the temptation to believe that man is dying and going out the world backwards and man is evil. And don't let me enter into the temptation to make judgment and keep me out of trouble. Deliver me from the evil. For thine, yours, Father, is the counsel. That which I am one with. I'm one with that counsel. I'm one with that kingdom. Yours is the kingdom, the authority, all power, and all praise. In the name of Jesus Christ, the same nature that Jesus Christ had forever. Amen.